you'll be given. It's your right.
Okay,
Nobody will seize it.
Thank you. So, Madam Speaker, if we could remember, the former president was the president of this country for 22 years. Huh? Yes, I'm coming. Supplementary, I know.
Laying the foundation.
I'm laying the foundation, okay. So,
Disadvantage of laying a foundation.
Okay.
Your 1 minute will be gone.
so the former president was the president of this country, and he was having salary and other benefits. Do the commission also make some assessment to know how much was found to be actually legitimate assets?
Honorable Speaker, with all due respect, I refer the honorable member to the Commission's findings. It's a matter of public record, and yes, the Commission did find sufficient reasons as to why the former President Jammeh's property should be forfeited to the state, simply because he stole a lot of the monies that he was using at the time. That's the straight answer, Honorable. But I refer you to the Commission's findings in that regard.
Yes, nominated member Jay.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, if I understand, there were different sales. Some were done by the Commission before their report. I was just wondering, the sale of the cars, the luxury cars, there has been allegation that there was one Range Rover sold for only $100,000. Can you enlighten the National Assembly on this issue?
Honorable Member, I believe that the National Assembly and the members who sit in this August Assembly are too dignified to entertain rumors. I believe that when we seek accountability from us, it is based on facts. I have no idea where that information came from. I know certainly that the process which my ministry is responsible for did not sell any Range Rover for $100,000. I don't know whether the auction that the Commission carried out sold any such vehicle, or the circumstances or the reasons why this was sold. I cannot confirm or deny that, but it would be difficult for me to believe that a Range Rover would be sold for $100,000. I don't know.
Thank you. Honorable member for Serekunda.
Honorable Speaker, would the Honorable Minister and Attorney General indicate the importance of ensuring that every information that is associated with this whole process of inquiry, recovery, is transparent, and publication of every development is the best means of allaying rumors and ensuring that the public knows exactly what has transpired. And if that is the case, wouldn't that be the best practice under the circumstances?
I thank the honorable member. I agree that transparency and public information about the entire process should be made known. And this is one of the reasons why I am here, to respond to questions of honorable members about this entire process. The difficulty that I have is, at what point do you engage the public in this? Because you will never stop speculations, conjecture, rumors. Maybe every month, every 2 months, every 3 months, there should be a press conference. We will think about it. But I think one sure way of ensuring that information flows from this process is here before this National Assembly, where all the questions are asked and we answer appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, when you look at this document B, you can see some of the properties are marked sold, others are marked unsold, then the others are not approved for sale. What is the intention of the government with these properties which are not intended to be sold and the one which are marked unsold?
The information about the properties that are unsold means they have not yet been sold, even though they are marked for sale. The ones that are not approved for sale are the ones that government has identified, or this task force, ministerial task force I had alluded to earlier, has identified and put aside for possible government use. We keep getting requests from various government departments for accommodation. We have actually acceded to some of these requests to basically stop the paying of rent. I think two of them are the Department of Internal Audit and the National Agency for Legal Aid. They have made requests. We have allowed them to use two of these properties. So the properties that are not approved for sale are the ones that the government has put aside for possible government use.
Thank you. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, on the document marked D, where you have a table where you have the livestock, you have 634 cattle, 8 horses, zebras 9, hyenas 7, rams 37. The cattle. It is that all these cattle were sold? If yes, what was the amount?
I believe the cattle was one of the cattle sale was one of the activities that the Janet Commission undertook. If I am not mistaken, I have presented before this assembly in the past the amount that was realized from these cattle sales. And I recall a question that one of the members asked about the average cost of each cattle, when I said, well, it depends on the breed, on the size, and the... so I think that question was answered. But I can again provide that answer if you're still interested. Right now, I unfortunately cannot provide it. Yeah.
Papa Fuladu.
Yes, my question is about just what the minority leader asked. So if the minister is going to provide us with those information, that would be grateful. That would be nice. About the commission sales, or where you can refer us to get those information.
Allow you if there is no other supplementary. Yes, let me give an opportunity to nominated member Ndeyasin. Honorable, you don't raise your tag up, that's why.
Thank you very much, Ma. Sorry about that. I just want to know, because during the Honorable Minister's answers, he was saying that some amount of the chunk of former president was diverted to TRRC. So I am asking whether government can take any money from anywhere without budgeted and without to be brought to the National Assembly's approval and put it to somewhere else.
It's a legitimate question. What has happened in this instance, if I can explain, is that the government of the Republic of Senegal donated to the TRRC process an amount of $50 million. And we had an understanding with the Honorable Minister of Finance that that $50 million which was given to the TRRC will be kept in government funds, and that in exchange the $50 million will be taken from former President Jammeh's sole assets and be given to the victims. That is what has happened here.
Thank you very much. I think we've had 7 supplementary questions on this one, and these are the questions that had been posed by honorable members for the Attorney General and Minister of Justice to respond to. Honorable, thank you very much for the responses, and you are now released. Thank you. Clerk, can we proceed? Oh, books.
Thank you. Questions to all answers continues. We now have the Honorable Minister for Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment.
Thank you very much. Questions for which due notices were given to Honorable Minister for Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment by honorable members for oral reply. Question number 97 of 2020 by the honorable member for Serekunda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Would the Honorable Minister for Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment indicate to this August Assembly the package for relief or compensation, if any, that has been prepared for owners of businesses like video clubs which have suffered closures?
Good afternoon. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Member for Serekunda West. Serekunda. The government of the Gambia acknowledges that MSMEs, including owners of video clubs, are seriously affected by the pandemic. However, due to economic challenges and budget constraints, the government at the moment does not have a specific relief package for the MSMEs. However, the government, in partnership with the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, commissioned a comprehensive assessment of the socio-economic effects of COVID-19 on the Gambia. The final draft report is currently being reviewed by stakeholders. The study explores the immediate, medium, and long-term socio-economic impact of the pandemic and offers recommendations to mitigate the negative effects. Some of the recommendations of the study include direct cash transfers to MSMEs, most affected in the informal sector and micro-enterprise category. 2, loan restructuring and deferrals, specifically for small and medium enterprises. The government of the Gambia, in partnership with the UNDP, through the Gambia Bureau of Statistics, also conducted a rapid assessment of the impact of COVID-19 on tourism-related sectors. As part of the assessment, individual entrepreneurs were covered, and they include the following: tourist taxi drivers, airport porters, fruit sellers, juice pressers, bird watchers, tourist guides, hairdressers, and craft market vendors. It was based on a list provided by the Gambia Tourism Board. However, as a result of this study, the following were recommended: that the UNDP is working with the Gambia Tourism Board to possibly effect direct cash transfers to those employees who are in the tourism and hospitality sector who have been laid off due to COVID-19. Further, the study have made some preliminary assessment, and there will be interventions for the formal sector and the informal sector. Yes, the figures are not finalized, but as and when they come up with final figures, it will be made public. Thank you.
Have the floor.
Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Minister is talking about a study. The real issue, Honorable Speaker, is that the regulations ordered the closure of such businesses as has been mentioned. Is there any call number for those affected to call the ministry and indicate their deprivation And is the ministry taking note of what those people have said regarding their losses at the moment?
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, there is no call number to that effect. This responsibility was given to a, multi-sectoral, committee being supervised or being assisted by the UNDP. Yes. As and when the need arises, maybe the numbers, the call numbers like this COVID-19 number may be provided for them to come forward and submit, their requests. But a call number has not been established yet.
You could have another one.
Honorable Speaker, it is important for the minister to take note that these people are being evicted for not paying their rent, both compound and business rent. And these are young people who are extremely suffering. The minister should take note of the suffering of people due to closure of their businesses. Wouldn't the
want to be accused that, I know you asked the parent question, if I may put it that way, but this is also supplementary. So if we can just go within the parameters of supplementary question.
Shouldn't the government establish a call number and ensure that these people have somewhere to record what is happening to them and for immediate action to be taken to address their concerns?
Thank you. In response, I will say, yes, a call number may be instituted, but we all know how strict, government finances are. We are just from, footing the bill of this, COVID-19 food aid, and everybody knows how the government, budget was, stretched by getting funds from different sources to come up with this package. This one is also another area which, government is working on and will come up with any, solution to the public that we may give to address this situation.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, talking about restrictions, would the Ministry of Trade consider liaising with the Ministry of Health and the Attorney General's chambers, Attorney General and Minister of Justice, to at least ease some of these restrictions, to enable, particularly these video operators, to have the numbers that are entering their halls, so that you will enable them to be earning income. At least easing restrictions on the closure. So allow them to at least allow half of those that enter their halls to enable them to continue with their businesses. Are you considering that?
Thank you, Honorable Member. Yes, we are considering that. I am a member of the Cabinet Subcommittee on COVID-19. And your question is raised there, this type of question, not only video clubs. We have these gyms being mentioned and other, SMEs, which are being considered. It's just that, before we take a decision, we have to take a professional advice from the Minister of Health, who is a key member of this committee. We count a lot on his advice or otherwise, but we are definitely considering it because they have been away for so long, considering giving them, physical distancing, yes, to be able to earn something, to pay their rents, pay their staff, and at least earn a living. We are really considering that.
Thank you. Sami, Honorable Member for Sami.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, did your ministry factor these businessmen and women that operate at these lumos?
Yes, we have not only as Ministry of Trade, but at the cabinet subcommittee level, LUMOs, most of the LUMOs in the Gambia are located near borders. And we all know between Gambia and Senegal, around the borders, they are so porous. And the Minister of Health advised this cabinet subcommittee that he would not go in for that because the cross-border, interaction will be so much with the opening of the LUMOs that it will expose the Gambia to greater risks. That is why we are still not opening the borders. Oh, sorry, we are not still opening the LUMOs. Thank you.
Upper Fuladu West. Upper Fuladu West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Provided that the Emergency Powers Act that the executive is enjoined to impose these restrictions, authorize searches and stuff like that, that you are enjoying. At the same time, this same powers is asking you that anybody who is affected by your powers should be compensated. So, and from what I'm hearing is that there is nothing in place so far that goes on to address the plight of these people affected by your own powers. So, are you saying that obviously these affected persons should not get any redress or compensation?
No, sir, I'm not saying that. I said here specifically that, it is being considered. We are not saying no, there will be no compensation, but we are working on a package for these formal and informal sectors. There is it. It may not come immediately because of budgetary constraints, but we are definitely considering doing something for them.
Chance. Let me call Opanyumi, please.
Just want some clarity. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me that opportunity. Honourable Minister, you said you are giving a consideration and there are plans on the way to provide a package for these people. We want to know, I'm asking you this question. Are you telling us that are you really having a plan in place towards compensating these people? If so, how soon?
Yes, I repeat, the assessment has been done. We are considering that, but how soon is the question I cannot give right now. What I can say is that the Gambia government plus some donor partners are working on something to give those adversely affected by this pandemic and the closure of their businesses. The process is on, but I cannot specifically say this time. Thank you.
Central Badibu.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Minister said they have looked at the LUMOs, but the LUMOs are located very close to our borders. It's quite true. But can't we use our security forces to help us in controlling those coming from Senegal?
We have raised this issue. Thank you for that question. We have raised this issue again at the cabinet subcommittee level. Yes. The LUMOs are so many. Giving security to all these areas, were very much difficult. And again, even if you provide these securities, some of the border towns are so close. You can see one part of a village being in the Gambia, another part being, in Senegal, making it very difficult. And the health minister definitely have advised strongly against it. And since he is the lead minister, in this COVID-19 issue, we don't want to go against his professional advice. We are saying that let us keep it like that until further notice, and that is what he advised, the subcommittee.
Honorable members, question number 98 of 2020, Honorable Member for Kumpu South and Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, would the Honorable Minister for Trade, Regional Integration and Employment indicate to this office that it had been, can the Honorable Minister for Trade confirm to this August Assembly whether Banjul Breweries Limited would cease to operate after 40 years in the Gambia and the status of Radbill Farms in Combo East?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member. My ministry was formally notified by Banjul Breweries Limited, their management, that they are ceasing operation in the Gambia. They informed us on the 27th of March 2020 that on the 30th of March 2020, they are ceasing operations. That is just 3 days. The reasons advanced by Banjul Breweries Limited were that of technical and such as obsolete machinery, and economic such as financial issues. Further discussions with Banjul Breweries indicated that the decision came from their board of directors, that is board resolution, who thought, it's unworthy, that it is unworthy for the company to continue under this trend. As I am delivering this statement, it is sufficient enough, to inform this august body that formally Banjul Breweries has ceased operation in the Gambia, as they have gone through almost all the formalities of business closure. The company is no longer operating or producing. That is, machines are shut down, the staff have been laid off, and their entitlements fully paid, rounding up with their, chain suppliers or distributors, and etc. All these processes have been pursued with the relevant institutions, such as the Labor Department and their own staff union. However, the ministry has proposed with Banjul Breweries that government will review their letter, that is this cessation of operations, and hopefully come up with some remedial measures as per the challenges highlighted, that is technical and economic reasons. The biggest challenge for the ministry at this time is that Banjul Breweries Limited, delivered the time they delivered this letter. Was the lack of closure clause in the Companies Act. In the Companies Act, there was no specific, remedial measures mentioned when such cases occur, nor was it also in the GAIPA Act. We believe that could provide guidance for the ministry and indeed provide procedural measures for the company within a specified period of time. Notwithstanding, the ministry has engaged, the company, though it could not stop the process. We have engaged them, but we could not stop their process of closure. The situation, therefore, had for this gap and probably any other to be considered in the Companies Act and GAIPA Act, in both these acts. It could be recalled that the National Assembly, the Select Committee on Trade, invited the ministry, Banjul Breweries, and other relevant stakeholders to discuss the cessation, and indeed outcome of this meeting recommended that the ministry to constitute, a task force, yes, comprising of Ministry of Trade, Finance, Ministry of Lands, GRA, GAIPA, Policy and Delivery Unit of the OP, and Labor Department to discuss the issue. Yes. When we came from the National Assembly, we discussed finance minister and myself, as was mentioned at the subcommittee level. We said, let us give the technical people to assess the situation, come back to us, and we engage the Banjul breweries again. Yes. So, during the first meeting of this task force, it was recommended that the ministry request the National Audit Office and the Gambia Investment and Export Promotion Agency to work on the investigative report, and the Ministry of Justice provide legal advice to the ministry. As I speak now, today at 2:30, they are supposed to, start this final discussion at my ministry to come up with solid recommendations as to how to go about it. Currently, the ministry is concluding the above stated report and legal advice, just as I have said, remedial measures. But there are two obvious pointers that the ministry would like, to ensure the facility, in as much as possible to make them, stay, continue, and the smooth transition either by the same management or new management to avoid fresh installation of the installed machines and equipment. Well, as I am speaking to you right now, we have the latest developments that the Banjul breweries have started selling some of their assets. I sent my director of industry and investments, to confirm. And their Secretary General, Mrs. Sinyan, informed us that everything is intact. But I have further come to know that they have really started selling their assets. And we came to know that the soft drink part of the facility are sold to a local Gambian businessman who is not interested, in the brewery side, but have consented to buying the soft drink part of the machinery. In effect, Banjul breweries, are really meant on living. And we are, as a ministry or government, not legally protected. We cannot stop. It is theirs. It's a private undertaking. We cannot stop them from selling their machines. But what we can do is we can make sure that they don't use the property for any other purpose other than a brewery undertaking. We have got several people lined up and interested to buy Banjul breweries and operate it. And one of them, they were the original owners of Banjul breweries in Germany. Through a certain person, they have expressed interest in continuing with the operations of the brewery. And these people taking their machines out, it is their right, they own it, they own the machines. But people are still interested in coming. Since we are not legally, bound to stop the sale of their machines, we still have people interested. It may take time to come up again, but be rest assured that the place is meant for operation of a brewery, and we'll stick to that. The ministry is considerate of pressure arising from the regional and continental market integration pressures, and more importantly, meeting the aspirations of the National Development Plan 2018-2021. Equally important is our resolve to support industrial development to be able to ease its contribution to GDP beyond stagnating 5% for all these years. We are as well cognizant of the greater link to the tourism industry, the distributive value chain, and its international brand in the beverage industry. In view of the above, the implication for closure are too consequential to the economy and on the regional and global value chains. It will technically increase our import ratio, yes, when the most desired state is to increase our competitiveness through value exports of goods and services. In recognition to the recent regional, that is ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme, and continental market integration, that is the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, our best desire is to make the economy an export-oriented one. And this would imply zero tolerance for the place to be used as a sales depot for any company in the industrial estates. We would not allow the premises to be used as a sales depot, which feelers have been coming all around that, they want their Senegalese facility to be supplying the Gambia with products from Senegal as a sales depot. This is what we are not accepting. It's very clear. We have already, taken those measures. We would like to assure this august body that our resolve to continue on this task, to not only stop Banjul Breweries Limited, but to look at fundamental issues in our pursuit for industrial development in this country. We hope our relevant sister ministries, departments, and agencies, and the National Assembly will appreciate and support this cause now and ever. Thank you. Honorable Speaker, I don't know whether I should go to the second part of the question. It is one comprising of two. Go ahead. Yes. The status of Radville Farms Limited. The farm has a single supply chain from its own farms of 40 hectares at Nema Kunku and 100 hectares vegetable in Tubakuta, which includes 2 hectares of greenhouse with a capacity of 90 tons of serenade. I didn't even know what the serenade means, but I'm told it is chilies. I got a feedback that chilies is pepper. The company also has 200 hectares of mango farm, 143 outgrower mango farms, and 7 women gardens plus 2 individual vegetable farms, all certified Global GAP farms. The farm exports all its produce to the UK-based Wilmore, which supplies the major supermarkets in UK. Yes, Radville has its own agricultural processing plant and cold storage, facilities at Banjul International Airport, where produce is checked, wrapped, and boxed for freighting to the UK. B, various products produced this season. The company's main produce this season are mangoes, beans, chilies, and baby corn. Mangoes, they delivered 1,375,855 kilos. And those processed for export amounted to 980 kilos. These are the ones sorted out and ready, for export market, which means the difference would be, used locally. For beans, they delivered 429,263 kilos, and 303,316 kilos were processed for export. Baby corn, 359,320 were delivered, but only 36,118, that is 12%, was targeted, for export, which means they underestimate, they overestimated how much they wanted. 359,000 was delivered, but only 36,118, which means the balance they'll have to look for other markets other than UK. Now for these chilies, they have two types, in-house and outdoors. For the in-house, 87,323 kilos were delivered and 84,221 kilos were processed for export. For the outdoor, chilies, 27,347 kilos were delivered and 23,518 kilos were processed for export. Rockets, these are, leafy vegetables. They are leaves, which are, highly in demand in UK and Europe for that matter. They delivered 103,272 kilos and 96,877 kilos were processed for export. Yes, the other thing is any challenges in the usage at current operating facility at the Banjul International Airport. The company is not using the cargo facility currently because the available flight, Brussels Airline, is not handled by GIA, and the storage facility cannot handle the company's daily volumes. Any export challenges to the international market under the COVID-19 crisis? Yes. The biggest challenge is the company exports via Dakar, for which, transit, that is freight costs, is very high, about 3,500 euros per container. The repeated high payment of duties or taxes along the Senegalese border and numerous customs clearing on the route to Dakar. This is a big challenge. Increasing local costs of electricity, as the whole park house has to be used to enable social distancing for workers, as well transportation of workers, to and fro. This is also because of COVID-19, and it is really, bringing higher costs, to Radville farms. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, as you rightly said, Banjul Breweries has been in operation for over 40 years. And looking at the winding up of the processes and looking at the act, the Companies Act of, I don't know whether it's 1953 or, which has not been amended for quite a long time. So that has created some problems on the retrenching and also paying the benefits. Are you so that all the benefits that are supposed to be paid to the employees have already been done through Social Security and in consultation with the Department of Labor? And the other question on RAPI is the compensation. Is there any plans at your level of your ministry? Because this company has also signed some partnership with some vegetable growers who are mainly doing baby corn, and a lot of them have abandoned the regular vegetables that they used to grow, and with this COVID-19, that has stalled the importation and also the production of these vegetables. So what is the stand of your ministry to support those vegetable growers?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Member. Yes, as regards Banjul Breweries, we did not leave them to compute these benefits to the staff alone. We made sure that the Labor Department, which is under my ministry, we are tasked to work with them to make sure that all benefits due legally are given to the employees. Banjul Breweries themselves said that they are even going to pay more than what the law says. And that includes these social security dues, which we are all computed and paid, all benefits, and whatever is required of them, they have adequately done, and they have sent the payment sheet where the employees, acknowledge that they were all paid. Their representatives signed together with the top management of the, brewery. They have done that. Now, regarding the Radville farms, any issue of compensation or what? Well, they have not brought that to our notice, the issue of, compensation. But just as I replied in the first question, government and donor partners are working on a package to compensate those adversely affected because of this COVID-19 pandemic. Yes, we are working on that, and Radville Farm is no exception. As and when we get there, we'll definitely take due cognizance, due note of all those affected and see whatever is possible to give them as compensation. Thank you.
Honorable Member, you will agree with me that you have exhausted your 2 supplementary questions. Thank you very much. Honorable Member for Upper Fuladu West.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Minister is right. Banjul Brewery's stakeholders have decided not to close the company after years of trying to get us to understand that they don't want to get to this decision, and want us to take a decision to decide on the matter. Now, Honorable Minister, the question is, now that we have lost Banjul Breweries with over $150 million in payments of taxes every year, payments to NAWEC on the amount of money they spend on NAWEC, the amount of employments, the trade that they bring in from across the sectors, tourism, you call it. You mentioned about another interested parties coming into play. Now, my question here is this. How sure are we that this is going to, how sure are you that this will happen, and when? And if so, are we going to make sure this time we don't make the same mistake by hiking their tax rates and forcing them to go out as well, just like Banjul Breweries?
Thank you very much. I'll first start by what you last asked. The tax element is a very minor thing for them. I don't think that was the reason at all. The thing is, we have not been quiet also. Banjul Breweries, their stakeholders were bent on closing this facility in the Gambia, so as to make their facilities in Senegal and other countries supply this market, which I have just said we are not accepting. There's it. Other interested parties, about 5 or 6 of them, made it very clear that they are interested in coming. And the ones I just mentioned, the one I just mentioned is just one of the 5 or 6. They were the first operators of Banjul Breweries, and they are ready to come back, and they were employing more than the current 150. At that time, they were employing more than 300. That's my information. So, we are ready to face it. It's the reality.
Thank you. Jimara? No.
I have...
You withdraw. Okay. Thank you. Then we'll give it to Upper Salum.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think he has partially answered the question, but what I wanted to know is the issue they put forward in closing was technical and economic. Now, on the economic side, I just wanted to find out whether this company was paying any special tax that the other corporates in this country were not paying. Because the idea is because of taxes, that's why they're closing, and you've just confirmed that. So I wanted to know whether there's any special tax that they're paying that other corporates in this country are not paying.
No, sir. There was no special tax they've been paying which other companies were not paying. Yes. Corporate tax, other companies were paying. VAT, other companies were paying. All other taxes, other companies were paying. Excise tax, we have companies paying, because they were paying excise, they were paying, these pay as you earn, and other taxes.
Thank you. Fonyi Kansala.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think, to be fair enough, the concern I wanted to raise, the Minister in responding have adequately addressed the concern I have.
Sorry, I already had the list and we've exceeded our upper limits. So, Combo East, yes, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, what's the latest situation of workers as far as the Radville is concerned in terms of job securities?
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Speaker, I mean, Radville is a very, very viable business. They are doing very well, and they have as yet not raised any concern, regarding the status of their staff. They are still continuing on with their business as usual.
Thank you. Nyanija.
It's okay now. It's okay. Thank you.
Lower Nyomi, and then I'll. Sorry, Janjambure, did you raise your tag? Yeah, okay. Yes, Lower Nyomi.
Madam Speaker, I wanted to ask the Minister that the successes of the Radville is over the sweats and the backs of our women. Can the same method used by Radville be provided for the ladies who work there, and a piece of land to that dimension be given to them so that they could produce like the Radville?
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Speaker, in fact, we at our level, at the ministry, we are encouraging that to happen. Some Gambians, for that matter, have come up with this idea of doing something similar to Radville. Make sure they have the markets outside and then come and mobilize. The statistics have been given here regarding the Radville operations. They are outgrower schemes. They are engaging the women farmers, gardeners. They are doing that. But we want it at a bigger scale. That is, engaging all the garden projects, horticulture projects around the country, make sure we have people who will give them what Radville is giving to those, their outgrowers, so that they will have more money and concentrate only on production at a more mechanical level. That is, providing them seeds, providing them equipment, this is it. Already the proposal is on my table. Yes, in order to make sure that the women derive more benefit from this, rather than just living hand to mouth. We are doing that right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Janjambure.
Honorable Minister, you mentioned that there are 6 other companies that are interested in buying this. Did you make an assessment of them to know if they buy the company without the machines, how long it will take them to be able to build it?
Just as I have said, in the first answer, people are interested, and when they come, of course, the buyer will not just come and blindly, buy, but the buyers will make their personal assessment of what is on the ground. There is it. Because people like this German people I'm telling you, they are used to it. They said, their machines, it's true, may be obsolete, but they are coming with new machines if they happen to buy this, and new technologies, in order to do that. How much time it will take now, I cannot confirm just now, but there are interested people. Thank you.
Sir, we have exhausted our upper limit of 7 supplementary questions, and thank you very much for the responses provided to the questions posed by honorable members. You are now released. Thank you. Clerk, can we proceed, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for oral answers. We proceed now with the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs.
Thank you very much. Questions for which due notices were given to Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs by Honorable members for oral reply. Question number 204 of 2019, this is a December 2019 question by the Honorable Member for Bakau. Okay, I understand that there's some we're starting with the, is it March or June? A table office, can you help me please, clerk? Pardon? No. The chair is saying we're starting with June 2020. The backlog will come next week. Please, okay, question number 102 of 2020 by the Honorable Member for Upper Salum. June questions, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Page 8. Honorable Speaker, can the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs tell this August Assembly whether there is any state-owned enterprises that have defaulted in their payments to the Social Security based on the MOU signed between the Social Security and the state-owned enterprises in 2018?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, honorable members. The state-owned enterprises that have defaulted in their payments to Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation based on the signed MOU in 2018 between Social Security and other SOEs are GIA, GAMTEL, GAMCEL, and GCAA. For NAWEC, Ministry of Finance has taken up the responsibility to pay on their behalf, and we are currently making payments as agreed with the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation. The other SOEs that are on track with payment plans are GGC and GPA. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Minister. Now, what is the next course of action for these defaulters? Because they are not paying and they need to pay. And what's your next course of action?
The next course of action is that we are encouraging them to sign an MOU, and we will be we'll do the monitoring to ensure that in their annual budgets, as we sit in all their boards, that the payment plans are adhered to.
You want an additional one? Yes. Go ahead.
Thank you. Now, in the case of NAWEC, you've just mentioned that the Minister of Finance is taking up to pay on behalf of NAWEC, and I want to find out exactly how are you doing that? Because in the budget I've not seen anything relating to NAWEC, so I don't know how exactly are you doing that.
Yeah, this is, as NAWEC was the heaviest, and it's a contingent liability on us, and that what will happen is that there is like an offsetting arrangement where we also owe NAWEC. So when we pay on their behalf, it will also be deducted. It's an understanding, an MOU that we signed.
Nominated member, Deyasin.
Thank you, Ma. I wanted to ask about NAWEC, but it has been addressed. Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, since the public enterprises are obliged to seek permission from the ministry, from the minister, in order to continue borrowing and to report to ensure that they do not get into this situation. What is the Minister of Finance putting in place to avoid what has happened in the past?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Member from Serekunda. Currently, there is an embargo on all the SOEs borrowing. If only it is necessary and if it is a life and death situation, we can allow. But even with that, we have to make sure their cash flow will be able to contain that. So there is a current embargo on all public enterprise borrowing.
Any supplementary questions? More? No? Okay, then we move over to 103 of 2020, still by Honorable Member for Upper Salum.
Looks like today
Please
is my
can
lucky
you
day.
allow him, otherwise get distracted. Yes,
Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, can the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs tell this August Assembly the total assets owned by the government of the Gambia, both within and outside the Gambia, as at the end of December 2018?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker and Honorable National Assembly Member. Currently, there is no comprehensive government asset register, comprehensive. However, as part of the IFMIS EPICO 10 update, the government of the Gambia has acquired an asset register module, and all MDAs have been engaged to complete their asset register for inputting it into the IFMIS system.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, being the ministry that's responsible to manage all the assets and the liabilities of government, why are you leaving this in the hands of the other ministries to do that for you? Thank you.
I think it's something that in the past it was all decentralized. That is why now we want to centralize it, and we want to make sure the information we are capitalizing on the current technology. We never have a model that will capture all of this information, so it was decentralized. That's why we are saying that this is something that it's long overdue. In fact, even as part of our budgetary submission here, it should, all the assets should be, the valuation, everything should be part of the budgetary submission here. So it's a process ongoing, and we want to make sure now everything is centralized, and that with the technology now, with the click of a button, you can access all the information.
Yes, I have several questions. You know, today is my day, that's why. Thank you. Now, the second question is, do you have any specific timeline when you expect all the data to be gathered in the system so that you can give us a comprehensive analysis of exactly what we have in and out of the country?
To tell the truth, we don't have a timeline. We are trying to put a timeline where at least we will provide some sort of an incentive that if it is provided on time, certain things will be done. But for the time being, if I give you a timeline, I think repeatedly here, even the speaker made mention of that, we are always talking about system issues. So even if the information is available, inputting it and try to disaggregate those information is very difficult. But I can assure you it is being given the attention it requires, and hopefully we should be able to get something soon.
Thank you. Janjambure.
My question also on the timeline, and can we be given copies when it is ready? Can we have copies when it is ready?
Sure. We'll make sure you'll have the soft copies. Nowadays, printing is very expensive.
Yes, Serekunda.
Honorable Speaker, wouldn't the minister also see the urgency in actually preparing those registers? Because how would the Accountant General really prepare accounts for audit without the assets of government being known? Isn't it urgent to really work on that agenda?
Thank you very much. Oh, yes, we've covered a lot of data now. It's just that we haven't completed. I can say we've gone more than 70% of data gathering. So I just want to avoid giving any timeline, but be assured that we've gone very, very far. And we want to make sure that hopefully by the time we come in December, we should be able to get. But sometimes they're so scattered that it's so difficult. It's not only giving us the data, but we have to go through internal audit and the Auditor General Office to confirm and verify where those assets are. Some of them they are absolute, some of them are already been auctioned, and you still see the data in there. So the verification process, that's what is taking a lot of our time.
We move on to the next question. 104 of 2020, Honorable Member for Upper Salem.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, can the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs tell this August Assembly the total amount of unclaimed funds held at the Central Bank of the Gambia as at the end of the, December 2019, and are these funds reflected on their annual audited accounts?
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. I wish to inform this I want to inform the Honorable Member for Upper Salem that the total amount of unclaimed funds as at end December 2019 at the Central Bank of the Gambia amounts to 77,481,286.62 bututs, and this is reflected in their annual audited accounts of the bank under other payables.
Thank you. Any supplementary on that? No? Good. Question number 105 of 2020, Honorable Member for Tumana, but he's not around. So I'm not sure that he's given authority to anybody. I haven't seen it. So we move over to 106 of 2020, Honorable Member for Serekunda.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Would the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs stipulate the total amount of funds received? Oh, I'm sorry. It's 106, not the 107. Honorable Speaker, would the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs explain to this August Assembly the content of the agreement signed between the Gambia government and the IMF and how it is renewed on an annual basis?
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. The current arrangement between the government of the Gambia and IMF is an ECF arrangement for the sum of $47.1 million. This is purely for the balance of payment support for the Central Bank of the Gambia for a period of 39 months. Upon approval, an immediate forced disbursement of $6.7 million to the Gambia has been made. Disbursements of the remaining amount will be placed over a duration of a program period subject to 6 half-year reviews. This facility will be repaid with a grace period of 5.5 years at 0 interest for a period of 10 years.
Supplementary, no?
Yes. Honorable Speaker, would the Honorable Minister reflect on the question being asked and then answer it the way it is expected. The expectation is that from the genesis of the relationship between the Gambia and the IMF, there must have been an instrument that is ratified by Parliament, by the National Assembly, to enable a relationship to be built in the first place. Am I correct? If not, is there really a lacuna in that area requiring some study and review to regularize?
I think the last time I came here, we have in principle agreed that in conformity with our constitution, there is need to revisit our relationship in terms of programming, because it's a different, unique relationship where it's not on an annual basis. It depends on the situation where if you have, we are a shareholder of the fund. And here what we are saying is that if there is anything that we need from there, it's a basket that we will go and withdraw. Of course, they cannot directly give to the government of the Gambia. It will use the central bank as a conduit. And this is dollar denominated, but as it reaches us, it is dollars denominated. So I think we've all agreed that there is a need to revisit the relationship and to conform with our constitutional local laws. We have to sit down and revisit it. But all over the world, this is the standard operating procedure. But in our constitution, it says very clear, all loans, grants, agreements must be ratified. But so far, since our membership up to today, Parliament has never ever ratified anything that is coming from the IMF. That doesn't mean that we will continue doing it. We have to adapt to a fast-changing situation and circumstances, and the need to really sit down and reflect on it, we have no problem with that.
Question number 107 of 2020 by the Honorable Member for Serekunda.
Honorable Speaker, would the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs stipulate the total amount of funds received or allocated by the government to combat COVID-19 from the onset of the pandemic to date?
Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, the stipulated amount received and allocated by the government to combat COVID-19 from the onset of the pandemic to date, the sum of 860,365,572.14 is payment towards the purchase of rice, sugar, cooking oil, and other logistic costs of the food support package of the COVID-19. Of the 173 million cash allocated so far, that's the other one, only 70,660,570.6 brut has been spent. So this is, I have a table here which says from BE15 COVID-19, that's the expenditure and the receipt, 860,365. BE, that's the total national donation that we haven't spent anything, is 11,205,850. And the total cash allocation for the COVID, again, is 173 million, of which we've spent 70,665,70. The total is 1,048,571,203,000. Out of that, 931,142,142.20 has been spent. So I have a table here that I can reflect and share.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As you can see by the question, Honorable Minister, the idea was not to submit the minister through auditing by other means. That's why the question is really concentrating on the total sum received, whether internationally and nationally raised and then allotted. So from the question, I believe you have actually sought to give me all the information regarding everything that has been received from national and international sources. This is just what I want to confirm, that what you have said is precisely what has been derived from both national and international sources devoted to COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you. Serakunda, any more? Serakunda, any more questions?
No, as long as that is confirmed,
okay,
that is the total.
Nyamina East.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I was trying to ask, how do you obtain the said sum? What is actually coming from the national budget and what is exactly coming from the donors in comparison? Thank you.
When we receive it, it's totally, we put it in different accounts. The accountant general makes sure that we don't mix the funds, so it's very, very clear. From the national budget originally, we said just for health. That was why we were able to get the original health amount. That's through environment, the 500 million, and the second one was for the food item, but everything is reflected. What we release, that's what we always confirm. What we release to the Ministry of Health, we are not the spending officers. We release it and then it's reflected in the IFMIS, that's where the actuals are. So it's where, once the accountant general has the information, before the funds arrival, they will open the account at the central bank.
Honorable Member for Janjambure.
Honorable Minister, I'm so, being a little bit confused of what you're reading. We don't have the document. Okay, thank you.
Members want the details. This is oral answer, but they will be made available to the table office for distribution for your records. Thank you. Loa Nyomi.
Thank you, Madam. That was exactly what I wanted to demand.
Any more demands? Woolly East.
Thank you, Honorable. I'm just interested to know whether some of these loans, some of this income that is received on behalf of COVID-19, some of them are loans and grants. If yes, can we know that also by the information that you are providing to us?
So far, yes, offers have been made, but up to the minute I'm talking to you, I refuse to take any loans for COVID. All what we have been spending is our own local resources and grants. For the time being, I am really being very, very cautious. I'm not taking any loan on COVID, for the time being. I cannot guarantee whether tomorrow I might change, but for the time being, it's very clear our GDP loan ratio. Yes, it is true that they will say that, oh, you're in high demand, you have to. But I think in the midst of all this chaos pandemic, we also are very, very sensitive about what might happen tomorrow. You can hook yourself today, tomorrow you go into the ditch. So we are being very careful, very difficult situation where all of these resources, sometimes very concessionary, very appetizing, but I am, for the time being, resisting it. So I just need your prayers to continue resisting that.
Thank you. Sami.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the floor. Honorable Minister, when you go to some centers, they have all the items, but when you go to other centers, they don't have all the items. Can you throw lights on that?
No, I cannot throw lights on that. My responsibility is to allocate the resources. The operational matters that I think the Minister of Health is the right person to answer that. But we allocate resources as and when they demand it. But as to whoever, no, that is an operational matter that is very difficult. I think only the health minister can answer that.
I think that's a very fair response. Phone Prefect.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to find out from the Honorable Minister whether the sum he has just mentioned is inclusive of the sums given by IMF as stand to be corrected for the purchase of medical items, including ambulances.
No, IMF money up to this second is not spent. That is why I will be coming to the National Assembly for you to give me approval to be able to spend that money.
Thank you. We've exhausted our upper limit of 7 supplementary questions. So we move over to question number 108 of 2020 by the Honorable Member for Serekunda West. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, can the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs inform this August Assembly how much money was raised from national and international organizations since the outbreak of the virus, and how much of these monies were spent?
Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, Honorable National Assembly Member, I wish to inform this August Assembly that the total funds received from international partners so far amounts to $138,840. This amount includes the $21 million received from the IMF.
Honorable Minister, the second part of the question is not answered. You answered the international, but what about national?
The national, that's the one I said in my earlier submission that we have the total national donation is $11,205,850, but we haven't spent a dime from that. It's already in a special account at the central bank.
Sekunda West, you can have your okay. Lower Nyomi.
Would that be part of the demand that we are making so that we could have a breakdown of the information?
Yes.
You want it included in the document? Very well, thank you.
We already have it.
No, it's Lower Salon. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. The question here is the $21 million that it was given to the IMF. It was a grant or a loan?
The IMF don't give out the grants. It's a loan, but at a 0 interest rate. I said this is our money. The relationship is that it's a basket of funds. We have even a higher, it's a quota. So far, what we have drawn down is only 25% of our quota. It's our money. I always try to explain, it's like Osusu. We can take it anytime we want, but on condition that we fulfill the criteria, and that is linked to economic performance, and you're also doing well in terms of your inflation and other economic growth rates. So it is not, it is 0 interest, but it's not a grant, it's a loan. 0 interest, and you pay it, in 5 to 10 years.
Thank you. Woolly East.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, raising this amount from international organizations, which is about $43 million, but nothing is spent from it. What is the implication of that? Does that not go to so that we may not need that money and we are raising it from international organizations? Don't you think that it's about time that urgent issues like settling our frontline workers and things like that be settled rather than keeping the money in an account without spending it?
No, I don't. I think I have said here when we talk about balance of payment support, an example, if importations are made to the country and we don't have the funds to be able to pay for that, like the deficit is growing, the revenue is going down, and we are caught in a situation where there is this deficit, there is a gap. That's where it will come in to be able to help us finance that importation. So it is not an idle money that is sitting down there without, but it's only prepared just in case we need it, then we will draw down on it. That is why it's, I guess it's also interest-free. It's not something that is subjected to too many conditionalities, but we can only use it for that specific purpose. The balance of payment support is different from the other ECF where the 1 billion that I said is here, is sitting in an account, but I cannot spend it without the National Assembly authorization. That's why I will be coming to the National Assembly very soon to seek authorization to be able to spend it.
Thank you. Central Badibu.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Minister, I think you will agree with me, our health sector is very poor. We have a poor health system in this country. Do you have any plan this COVID fund could be used to improve on the health sector, to have a modern hospital which could be called as COVID hospital from this?
Yes, we are very much aware, but I think in a nation state, building a nation state requires planning. And that's why we have our National Development Plan from 2018 to 2021. And in the National Development Plan, the priority sectors were energy and infrastructure. In the event of with the pandemic now, we are now revisiting, we are now reprioritizing, putting health on top of all of these things. So yes, we are taking this opportunity now to make sure the infrastructure and other facilities that the health sector lack, we are really going to be, we definitely for the health, it's a priority. We are prioritizing the NDP, and it will be given, it has been given the due attention, but the focus, the laser focus attitude will definitely be on health. We're not going to give them 100%, but we'll make sure a good amount of attention and resources is given to them.
I'm sure the chair of the Health Committee would be happy to hear that. Honorable Member for Upper Salem.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, would the Honorable Minister of Finance, because here we are talking about the national and international funding about this, do you have any plans to create contingencies fund as stipulated in Section 154 of the 1997 Constitution to assist, because again, we struggled during Ebola, here we are COVID-19. Do you have any plans in creating such a fund?
For the time being, no. I will be talking to the Select Committee on those issues just as Plan B in the event. But for the time being, the need doesn't arise as long as, because the contingency fund, we can do it. But what does it mean if we do it immediately and the need doesn't arise at that? So we are just, it's part of the strategy that, you know, sequencing the activities, we are using the instrument we have now. That will be like the last resort. But just, I don't think it will be difficult really to come back to you to say that this is what we want, and we want to create the contingency fund. But it is something that we have in mind.
Yes, Jimara.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, these $443 million you're talking about, in a case where we control the virus, what are you going to do with the money?
It's 43 million US dollars. That's why I said these are monies that are zero interest. If we have to use it, again, to beef up our health sectors, to be able to rehabilitate, refurbish, and put in new and state-of-the-art equipment, to be able to buy medication, to be able to train more specialists, doctors, yes. But it depends all what is coming on from the health sector. But it is not something that we do not have intention to really return it, but to really utilize it in the health sector. Most likely, even if needs be, Honorable member from Serakunda was talking about small and medium-sized enterprises. If we can give it to them at a very good concessional rate, but as long as the funds are fungible, we can be very flexible to see how we can do. But that is something that only if we satisfy our health sector requirements, which is huge. Right now, I'm sure the honorable member from Banjul will not realize the appetite for health is so huge that we don't know whether we can satisfy it. But we are doing our best to make sure that the funds that we get, there will be nothing like they having the idea of, do we return it? No, we will utilize it, but we will utilize it in sectors, especially the health sector, that tomorrow, when we are confronted with issues like virus, we don't have to go back to square one or ground zero. So hopefully from here, we all learn our lessons that we should be better prepared. We should be better prepared.
Question number 109, 2020, Honorable Member for Serekunda West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, can the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs inform this August Assembly how much of the 24.6 million on retired imprest is still not recovered and why?
Honorable Member, I wish to inform you that so far, out of the $24.6 million, only $667,100 has been recovered from those who are actively in the service of the government as at May 31st, 2020. Let me further inform this August National Assembly that a major part of these imprest holders are no longer in the service, thus posting difficulties in recovery. That doesn't mean that we are closing the door. We are also seeking legal opinion to make sure that wherever they are is an imprest that they have to pay. Most of them are now being, the Accountant General, they have a payment plan, so that on a monthly basis, it will be deducted. Most of them, even if you are, your pension, the lump sum, most of the time, your entire interest will consume the entire money. So we are pursuing them, but so far, this is what has been recovered. So we are seeking legal opinion to see. But we want to exhaust all possible avenues before we go to the legal means.
Yeah, Serekunda West.
Honorable Minister, you will agree with me that 607,000 out of 24.6 million is really nothing. And this is not a loan. This is interest that they were supposed to retire. I think, would you not speed the idea of using using legal measures instead of exhausting any other measures? Because I know some of them are late already.
Thank you very much. I think the issue that we are confronted with sometimes is even the data. You can see a name that you go and trace all the way to see where is that actual voucher, where was the payment made, who it was made. Sometimes you see a situation where somebody was used as a conduit to come and receive the money and go and hand over, but we always make sure the one that the recipient of the cash, that's the one we are following. And unfortunately, sometimes these are people that are messengers, that are drivers. So it's so difficult. Even if you go through the legal means, these are the people that they will hold a Quran to tell you that actually, yes, I did receive it because I was sent as a messenger or a driver to go and receive it and hand it over. But the recipient, unfortunately, did not sign. So these are the issues that we are really confronted with. It's very difficult, but the legal route is you are the one who received the money. You have to pay it as far as we are concerned. Then our legal advisors will be able to advise. But it's a very, very difficult process to follow. We are not closing the doors. All of them are aware that an imprest is an imprest. It's not a gift. And we are doing everything possible to recover it.
Thank you. Central Badibu.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, you will agree with me that this is a serious financially indiscipline. And do your ministry have a plan to ensure that such will not be happening in our system? Because this is poor people's money.
Yes. Now, the way we are doing it, there is a ceiling. Unless on exceptional situation where even if we have to open up for you to have more, it has to be guaranteed. And before you receive another imprest, you must retire the old one. So it's a totally different ball game now. I can, maybe the next time I come here, I'll give you the statistics. Now it's very tough. It's no more the attitude where you can just come and take cash. No. Now everywhere, regardless, whoever it is, if you have been giving, and all those ones that have taken interest many years ago and cannot retire, up to now the data capture them that they cannot be entitled to another imprest. So we are doing everything possible. Currently, it is definitely under control. The internal audit, the accountant general, they are all alert to make sure that imprest holders do retire on a monthly basis. Even if you don't use the money, you have to retire.
Yes, Lower Numi, time.
I rise to move we sit beyond 6 o'clock.
I rise to second the motion.
Seconded that the assembly sits beyond 6 o'clock. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. So the ayes have it. We can now sit beyond 6 o'clock. I'm sure probably will be done before then. Honorable member for Birkama North.
Honorable Minister, in your response, you indicated that you want to exhaust all necessary avenues before legal measures will be taken. What are those necessary avenues that you intend to exhaust before the legal action?
I think here I have said, in the absence of data, where you have a messenger going to receive the imprest or the check being cashed by the messenger, the data, the information is there. But for the person that was the recipient of the money, that's where the information deficit comes in. That's why we are saying that even if we have to convince that individual in a very diplomatic way to accept that sort of responsibility, after some time, we have it's beyond the Ministry of Finance. All what we do is we just have to hand it over to the legal. It is not for the Ministry of Finance to decide whether this is going to be waived or no. We don't have that authority. Most likely we'll have to come back to the National Assembly to give you a very, I think it is important really to exhaust the avenues. Sometimes you can rush, and in the process you find out that there was an error. So before we go to that extent, we say we are doing everything possible in the absence of data. That data deficit is really, we are being confronted. Sometimes they're in the archives that a ministry has, or department has moved from one end to the other. Those are not the days of digitalization. So that is why right now we are making sure that we digitalize every transaction. So the legal means, yes, eventually we will get there, inevitably. But we want to make sure that before we are there, we exhaust all the possible diplomatic and other avenues that we can recover. Because recovery is the intention. If we go to a situation where this classified as you have recoverables with hostility, you also have recoverables, non-recoverables. That's where really we will go to that extent. But for the time being, we are saying that classification, we are doing it. Some of them you might even realize that they are willing to pay no matter how insignificant it is. Willing and able, that's the question. Some of them are willing, but they are not able. So once you are willing, even if you tell us that you have a little source of income, you can pay $100 a month, and those are things that we can always negotiate. But inevitably, we have to go to the legal authorities and ask them to take the necessary action.
Thank you. Opposalo.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, in this issue of retirement, now, are you also thinking of any other ways? Because the Public Finance Act is very clear. Like when you take one, you cannot take another without retiring. But what we have seen in our FPAC is, instead of me coming, I'll ask my colleague to go and take. So are you looking at any other in terms of really holding the ministry itself accountable, just to ensure that they retire on time, instead of you just keep giving one person, another person retirement? Are you thinking along those lines as well?
Yes. The accounting officer is always the permanent secretary. Even if you have to go through other means, as long as it is coming from your sector and that retirement is not done, you are not eligible. It's very clear.
Any more supplementary on this? No? Okay. Then we move on to the next one, which is question number 110 of 2020 by the Honorable Member for Serekunda West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, can the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs confirm to this August Assembly whether the Gambia government did set aside a sum of about $8 million in 2014 as a revolving loan scheme for ministers? If so, how much of the said amount was recovered?
Thank you very much, Honorable. I wish to confirm that a sum of $8 million was set aside as a revolving loan schemes for cabinet members of the previous government. Out of this, $7,360,000 was issued as loans, cars and buildings. This is for cars and buildings. Out of this amount, $1,400,000 was issued as car loans with a 50% write-off. The remaining amount of $5,960,000 was towards building loan. Recovery from the total amount issued as at May 2020 amounts to $5,668,881.77 butus. I can tell you that most of them are fully paid. Only 2 of them that are now on payment plan, that the Accountant General has an agreement with them, and that is only one that is, for the time being, considered very difficult to recover because the person is under custody, and we are about to hand it over to the Ministry of Justice to advise on the legal means.
Well, Honorable Minister, this category of people are not like the previous categories. These are former ministers. The remaining is like around $2 point some million, I guess. It's a good recovery. But how soon do you think we will recover the full? Because these are people that we cannot pardon.
I don't think there is any intention to pardon, and we believe that this is 100% recoverable. As you said, they are here, and for the last 6 months, we've been able to make good progress in making sure that some of them were not contacted or we didn't know their whereabouts, but we've been able to locate them, and immediately they were able to do the full payment. If there is anything out of that amount, 1.1 million is to an individual that is now under custody. So that is why we said he has assets. That's why we believe that it is 100% recovery. The other 2 is only 3 that are outstanding. The other 2, they are paying. They are paying, and on a monthly basis, they are sending their money direct to the Accountant General. So it's only one that we believe that is still recoverable. Still recoverable.
Yes, Serekunda. Okay, thank you. Nominated.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, first, next time you're coming here, please prepare our revolving loan with 50% write-off. On a more serious note, I'm just asking, in relation to recovering these loans, is it true that ministers are paid gratuity at the end of every year? And why wasn't that used to recover these loans when these ministers were out of work?
I don't know. Very fair question. In fact, before annually you pay 20, it's like a contract amount. The last payment shouldn't have been paid. It should have been deducted directly. But I think in a situation where there is some chaos, but the good news is that 95% is now recovered. It's only one that we say might be a problem, and that these are interest charges along them. So it's only one. You are right. It should have been. It should have been. But nobody was paying attention to that. But up to today, we believe it's 100% recovery, because just for the last 6 months, we've been able to recover fully paid. Once we contacted them, they were able to come in sometimes one payment, sometimes 2 payments. So we can say that right now, the other 2 are paying monthly. Only one that is under custody and is outside the country. That's why it's kind of difficult. And we are about to hand it over to the Minister of Justice for legal opinion.
Yeah, thank you. Yasin.
Thank you very much, Ma. I would like to know, when did they start? Because this is taxpayers' money, and how urgent was it when you discovered that this was the loan that was owed to the state? And then the other issue is that what are the mechanisms put in place to make sure that all of them settle?
You can ask only one supplementary.
This is where I think we also have to commend our Accountant General and our internal audit system. The records were there since 2014. And that even with the new government, the records were there, and the attempts were always being made by the Accountant General. But now they were able to call the attention of the ministry. Now we are involved in the recovery.
Madam Speaker, I think it is important that that information, valuable information for that matter, could be part of the demand we are making.
I don't know how many demand notes you want to issue. Upper Salum, because that's not a supplementary question. Upper Salum.
Yes, thank you. Honorable Speaker, can the Honorable Minister confirm whether there are any laws that govern this kind of loans, knowing fully that sometimes the executive, they really change them here and there? And is there any laws that govern them as seen in other public institutions, where you take loan for car for 5 years, building for 10 years? Do you have any laws that govern this particular one for the ministers?
I think it was a general policy, that the revolving loan scheme, and that you have 5% and also 8%. 5% for the car and 8% for the building. But for the car, once you take it, even as a civil servant, you are entitled to for the 50% write-off. It's a general government policy that has been happening.
Supplementary questions on that? A question, please, not a demand. Supplementary question, yes.
Honorable Minister, is that scheme still there?
Yes, it's still there. Not yet, but we are slowing down on the utilization until we make full recoveries. But it's still there.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, since that fund, the scheme is still there, I think care must be taken this time, particularly on car issues. Once our ministers have 2 cars, they have their official car and utility car. I think loan on cars should be seriously monitored.
Okay, I can tell you, and I always repeat, the Minister of Finance only have 1 car. I don't have a utility car. I just want to be very clear. And I'm sure, most likely, I might not be the only minister. The perception, the impression giving that we all have 2 cars, no. Personally, I can tell you that I only have 1 car, And my other car is my private car that I use. But you are right. I think in terms of giving out loans, we are focusing on the most vulnerable, that is the civil servants that are at the lower grade, the civil servants that have more years to serve. These are the people that we are targeting as an incentive to be able to avoid. There has been a lot of exit from the civil service going to the private sector. So these are some sort of incentive schemes that we are providing to them to make sure that we retain them.
Right. We've got to the upper limit of 7 supplementary questions. So the next question is question number 111 of 2020 by the Honorable Member for Nyamina East.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, can the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs inform this August Assembly about his ministry's post-COVID-19 plan to boost the economy?
Thank you very much. Currently, the ministry is reviewing and analyzing proposals submitted by sectors on how really to jumpstart the economy post-COVID-19. Once this review and analysis are completed, we will have to share with the National Assembly the plan needed to boost the economy. I think it's a sector-wide, the impact, the octopusy impact of COVID-19 on our economy is severe. We were just talking about small and medium-sized enterprises. We're talking about the tourism sector, which has been badly hit. We're talking about the backward linkages, the beneficiaries, those taxi drivers, those bombsters, all of that. So it's huge. So what we avoid is, if you ask me as an economist, I am very myopic in the way that I do my analysis, because there are only certain variables that I looked at. Well, if you go to the health, to the education, to the tourism sector, they will be able to bring in the human face into this whole analysis. And that's where the whole chemistry will revolve around. But we are not going to make the decision alone. It's a multi-sectoral, and we will be coming back to the National Assembly. You are the people's representatives, and then we will share the report with you to make sure that the resources will be allocated appropriately and adequately to the sectors that needs the jumpstart. But we are doing that in consultation with all the sectors, both public and private in particular, because they are our principal taxpayers.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, are you also thinking, or are you also trying to think how you are going to engage the partners also, like the donors or people who are actually working together with your ministry or the government in order to help the country financially?
Yes, to tell you the truth, I think from a departure point of view, the local content, we are the ones who know, we know our problems. And that's where we start. Before you call on outsiders to come and help you, I think sometimes it's a matter of some sort of a dignity and pride that we use our local resources. We use, even if it takes me to give certain waivers to be able to assist a small and medium-sized enterprise to be able to come back to life. Those are things that we can look at. Yes, the donors are there, the concessional facilities are there, but that will come in after we make sure that we put our house in order. And here we are, we don't know when COVID is going to end. We don't know exactly what is going to happen. We're in June. We're talking about this is the peak period, and we're all praying to God that you know, what we expected as a huge thing might not happen. But really, the next frontier for us, I think, is looking at those youth unemployment, those women in the small and medium-sized enterprise that suffer so much, those women in the farmers, in the farms, vegetables, horticulture, everything. So it's a whole other package that it takes a whole country to be able to. So we do it nationally first and look at the limited resources we have, what we can do for our own citizens, then we can go outside and then come. But I always believe that it's not a gift. I think even if I have to take it, I will have to take it with dignity, by way of saying that I'm not going to ask you for free money. No, I can come and ask you for concessional loans where it's very flexible, you'll give me breathing space. We are a small, vulnerable economy. And that the situation as it is, we don't know. We're able to reduce the fuel prices 2 consecutive months. You think as a finance minister that is easy for me? No. But we are making sure that at least reasonably the cost of living is somewhat lower. That through that mobility, that transportation is somewhat low. We are thinking about how this year, the subsidy to the farmers, you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. Where do we mobilize the resources? We have to do it locally. So these are issues that we are looking at. But of course, it's always partnership development. But we do it at home first, then we'll be able to call the partners to say, come and tell us what is the experience in other countries, how we can also access funds.
Honorable Speaker, the question deals with post-COVID-19 plan. When will that really happen? I think that is really the question. When does COVID-19 become post? And essentially, Honorable Speaker, we're talking about food self-sufficiency. And isn't this well placed in the question that how to feed ourselves should be a major priority now as we are in the rainy season? Is there any plan in that regard and any support built for such a plan?
Thank you very much. I think I would have left the Agriculture Chair Select Committee. I think the Agriculture Minister and Ministry, they already have a good plan. As we said, it's an opportunity for what we were talking about, self-sufficiency in production, self-sufficiency to make sure that the required human resources is there, to make sure that we reduce the importation of rice and other cereals and other commodities that we have been using recently. You've had even the agriculture minister now, they are now resuming the production of cotton in the URR. These are all things that are coming up. But for the food self-sufficiency, yes, the Ministry of Agriculture, they are in high gear and they are working towards that.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, the tourism industry plays an important role in our economy, and the sector is highly affected by the pandemic. In this regard, can you inform the August Assembly whether there is any stimulus package for the sector in the post-COVID-19 plan?
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Yes, we do receive the assessment from the tourism sector, and I will be coming back to the National Assembly to request for a package so that we'll be able to, specifically for the tourism sector. Yes, there is a plan based on the data and the information we receive from the sector. We do have a plan. We don't know whether it is adequate, but at least we have something put together to be able to assess. But just remember, yes, the tourism sector, GDP ratio is high. But again, I always describe the octopus effect the COVID has on the entire economy. You're talking about it has hit every sector. So how can we distribute our small resource envelope to make sure at least every sector's head is above water? But yes, specifically the tourism sector is factored in.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, can the Honorable Minister tell us what plan you have to support women whose vegetables, were almost spoiled because of lumos were closed? Because we realized that a lot of women, vegetable growers, they got serious setback, and it really affects their little economy. Whether you have planned to support them or to buy the remnants that they have, vegetables.
Madam Speaker, I rise to a point of order. Order 43. Yes. The honorable member's question has no relation to the original question.
It does. It does.
I think the Honorable Minister can answer the question.
Thank you very much. The Minister of Trade, who was here, he just left. Actually, he's working very hard on that. What I understand, that about 6 tons of onions and other items, he made arrangements with the private sector. Originally, government was going to buy all of it and then store it, but not to giving it out free. We're just coming back to the market when the season ends so that we can sell it back at average market price. There we were going to use the Social Development Fund and the Agribusiness Services. But fortunately, the Minister of Trade was brilliant enough to be able to engage a private sector to buy the entire purchases, the entire produce. But I don't know as of now, but I know they have advanced at that time that they're going to buy everything that was produced by the woman.
Thank you. Honorable, clause 43 is usually very relevant, but let's also avert our mind to the question and answer given to any particular question before we jump to the conclusion that they are not related. Thank you. Upper Fuladu West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, on top of your small resource envelope, as you call it, what other engagements have you got in place to make sure that this post-COVID-19 plan works, and as far as social safety net project is concerned, which is 14 billion available out there to grab, well, not to grab all, but to grab from it, and also another 8 billion for private sector support, especially tourism. Have you got any engagements now with IFC and World Bank on these two issues?
Yes, we have engagements with IFC, we have engagements with the World Bank, we have engagements with Badia, we have engagement with OFIC Fund, we have engagement with ITFC, we have engagement with African Bank. We engage in every possible financial organization. This is to make sure we will process all the way to the end. And again, I always say there is always a difference between what you want and what you need. For the time being, we will only go for what we need. And we want to make sure, yes, we have engaged all of them. We are not sitting down. We make sure that we are prepared for those sort of things.
Yes, thank you very much, honorable members. We now move over to the next question, 112 of 2020 by the honorable member for Banjul North.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, would the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs inform this August Assembly why the currency notes dating back from the First Republic are still in circulation, and when will they be withdrawn from circulation?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Member. The Central Bank has a co-circulation policy in issuing and withdrawing of banknotes. There is no set date for the withdrawal of legal tender status of any of our notes. However, banknotes of the Fourth Republic are now categorized as soiled and unfit. As such, they are no longer used to pay bank clients. If any person presents them to the bank, they are giving value but not issue out again. That is why one hardly sees banknotes of the Fourth Republic in circulation.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, considering the COVID pandemic that we are contending with at the moment, and the fact that the virus is written on objects, and then you see in circulation these dilapidated banknotes. Would your ministry consider coming up with measures that would place a ban on these dilapidated notes that are in circulation with that stench, in order to avoid transmission of the virus through banknotes?
Honorable member, it's very difficult to come up with a policy to ban the notes. I think the central bank is an autonomous body. Yes, the policy direction is from the Ministry of Finance. What we are encouraging is really to go digital, that we are trying to encourage more of less cash transactions than exchange of notes. If you go to the vulnerable, to the poor households, these ones are very difficult to tell them you have to use this system or that system. But we are doing everything possible to make sure we are very aware of these dangers of the current situation, just to make sure that we protect the most vulnerable. But it is a very, very, very difficult thing to do. Banning it, very difficult. We are not thinking about banning. We are thinking about how to come up with measures that will be able to reduce the exchange of cash. We're trying to really use the technology now to make sure the payment system and all of those things, we can do it without but just go down to the lower, to the most vulnerable, you realize that it's very difficult, very difficult. But any suggestions, we will really welcome. This is something that we are giving a priority, giving all its development. That is very risky to be able to, to move all of those cash. Sometimes some of them are very, very bad, but that's the situation, and we are doing everything possible to reduce the risk.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, having these different types of currencies, I think that there are about 4 in number, in circulation, would it not have any impact on inflation? Not triggering?
No, it has no impact on inflation.
Thank you. Senator Kunda.
Honorable Speaker, there are new currencies. And when there are new currencies, they must be printed. And printing those currencies will require ensuring that you do not overprint currencies, since that will have impact on inflation. Wouldn't it have the same effect to print new currencies and leave old currencies in circulation? And would the minister really wish to undergo and do that study and see what is really in place and why old currencies are still in circulation when it is declared that we have new currencies?
Thank you, Honorable. We've taken note of that.
Thank you. Woolly East.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I just read a press release a few days ago, which says that the central bank is issuing only brand new notes to the commercial banks and is asking people not to accept old notes. But the commercial banks are still issuing old notes. So what advice can you give to the central bank to follow these banks from issuing out these dilapidated notes?
Again, I said the central bank is an autonomous institution, and it's an operational matter that we only stay at the policy level. However, it doesn't mean that we cannot call the governor quietly and brainstorm on this issue. We'll take note of your concerns, and we'll make sure that it will be the message will reach him.
Any more supplementary? Yes. Nominated Ndeyasin.
Thank you, Ma. I would like to remind the Honorable Minister that there was a time when we are talking about the currency to be accessible to people with disabilities, and you are telling me that the central bank is an autonomy. Have you ever talked to them about this issue? Because it's really an issue that people with disabilities, especially visually impaired, to identify their currencies, the notes is a problem.
Yes, the government of the day is very sensitive and very concerned about people with disability. It's not only the monetary side. I think in every industry, construction, whatever, the disability issue is always raised. Yes, these are issues that we talk to everybody that we have meetings with, and your concern, this is not the first time you're raising it. I can assure you what we need to do is to do more follow-ups. Again, what we are saying, the cost of these things are always very expensive. But because we are also very sensitive and we have international treaties and locally that we have said that the issue of disability is also a priority, yes, we will take it up and we will make sure we'll make the necessary follow-ups.
I'm sorry. Any more supplementary questions? No? Okay then. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you, honorable members. These were the June questions. You will observe from today's order paper that today was exclusively reserved for question and answer, except for the bill tabled by the Vice President for the first reading. The other questions for the Honorable Minister for Finance will come up next week, and of course all other ministers as well. So on that note, I will now put the question, be it resolved that this August Assembly do stand adjourned till Thursday, the 25th of June, 2020 at 10 a.m. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. So the ayes have it, please. The Assembly now stands adjourned till Thursday, the 25th of June, 2020 at 10 a.m. prompt. Thank you very much.